Hi everyone, this is Venkat and welcome to Aztec channel. Today is the day 4 of Unix and Linux Fundamental 0 to Hero series. So without wasting of our time, let's get started. So now what you need to do, come here, new, select on new and give some name, like maybe I can give OL2, maybe your name also you can give it, and the location where you want to install. So by default you can choose a C, or you can also customize wherever you want to put that particular mission. Maybe I can use that location as well, or any other location, that's up to you. And for now I'm not using ISO image. I will put this after setting up the initial setup. And now you are trying to install your Linux. Let's say if you drop down, you can try, I mean, any of these particular softwares, like Microsoft also you can install, Linux also install, Solaris also you can install, and BSD or model related operating system also install. So when I say BSD, something like Sunways, right? So now we are using Linux, that is our OEL, so I'm using this one only, and 64-bit is by default. You can select and next. Okay, it's saying that something issue with the folder. Let me reset. Okay, next. Okay, maybe this name is already there. Let me take the new name. Next. Yes, see, it take the new name, like OL3. It's taken. Now here, this is the picture you need to understand. So here you need to specify how much memory you need to allocate to your machine. So here I am using a 2 GB of memory and only one CPU. So this 2 GB and one CPU is allocated from your physical or primary system only. Means it is sharing the resources of your computer to the Linux box. Okay, to this particular Linux box. I mean the guest machine. So if you want to use 8 CPUs, you can use it, but it's not going to work since my machine is like 4 core CPU and uh, something like 8 GB or 16 GB of memory, right? So I would recommend to go with this option. Even you can change these values after configuring the um, guest OS as well. So for the time being, I'm using 1 GB, 2 GB memory and one CPU. Okay, next. We are doing this on our VirtualBox, right? So since we are doing as a POC purpose, means for our own playground, we are not hosting any um, online, I mean, real critical applications or things like that. So since that is the case, we are using, I mean, we can go with the minimum size as of 20 GB. That is fine enough to install our software. So I'm using 20. If you want to change it, you can change, I mean, you can drag here and there. So I can fix this value by using this 20. I can put like this, and that will set as a 20 GB. Okay, and this 20 GB is going to be used from your local disk only. I mean your hard disk. You might having your 1 TB disk, from there only it will use the 20 GB. Okay, next, rest all options you can ignore, no need to worry, just next. And this will give you the final summary. So here we allocated 20 GB, right? So this 20 GB is allocated from the C drive. Let's say if you opted for D drive or E drive, F drive in your machine, then the 20 GB allocated from that drive. So I would recommend to customize to this D drive or C drive based on your requirement. Okay, and these are the current settings that we are trying to use with the my OEL3 machine. That's my new guest host. Just finish. So now the new gust OS is configured, but it's not installed, right? So what you need to do, you need to install. So what you need to do first, right click into that, go to the settings and go to the storage. So here you might be seeing this icon. This icon is for giving an ISO image. This is meant for ISO images. So you need to select or put your ISO images. So go here in the right click side, you might be seeing the one we downloaded previously. that you can choose it. Let's say if you are not able to see this thing, you need to go choose from the days. I mean, that will be, I mean, you need to navigate to your download folder and you need to choose that file. So in this case, I already previously selected this operating system. That's the reason it's showing as that list. So I'm choosing any of these. Let's say I'm choosing Oracle 8 8.9. Okay, so it's selected. It's saying that my Oracle 9 is stored under the software's location, Venkat Linux software. This is the location from where the image is going to be pulled in. Okay, to set up your this. Yes, okay. Now you are all set to go and start installing and start customizing your own OEL Linux machine. So what do you need to do? Simply go and start it. So before you go and start it, let's understand one more thing here. This is the overall summary of your current virtual machine. I mean, the guest machine. The general name is OEL. We are using Red Hat Linux, and the system configuration and the display configuration, storage controller, network controller, USB, shared folder description. So all this can be, you can see uh, of your own VirtualBox. So now what I'm going to start and normal start. So it will start your machine, then it will do a post checks. I mean post boot, POST means power on self test. So that means, yeah, that means um, it will look for all the configuration whether they are okay to go and start our installation and all. So it will start as soon as you enter in this screen. Okay, just enter once you I mean as soon as you see this screen, you need to just enter, or else if you don't enter, it will wait for two I think 2 or 3 seconds or something like that, then it will start automatically. So I already I mean stopped this, so just entering it. So this is called the one you are seeing message, right? That's called a post power on self test. So what do you mean by that power on self test means? Let's example. Remember that in your PC, right? As soon as you power on the machine or power on your laptop, it will look for all hardware peripheral devices. Means what other devices are attached, what are the components are there, how do I need to start this? That's something CPU and the memory will interact with your system. Okay, that's where the power on uh, I mean power on self test will be run at the initial state. If everything is okay, when I say everything is okay, image is available and disk is fine, everything is okay, then only it will go into the next level. Means whether to install or whether to start the machine, that's where the system will do the checks. Okay, now I think we are good with the uh, power on self test. So let me wait here for a minute. See, it's saying that it's calculating or it's checking everything is okay and we can proceed for them. So I think we need to wait for a minute or so, then we'll go it, or else we can do abort check. This is nothing but your image is okay to use or not. So let it run. Generally image check is required, since if something is there issue before you start installing only, it will give you an errors here. It may give an error that this image is not compatible, or this image is not having a proper information, maybe it is corrupted, like that you might be seeing here. If image check is passed, then you are safe to go and install.
So here, right, so you need to choose the language, right? So you want to deal with the keyboard and mouse inside the virtual box. You just need to move your cursor and just enter in the keyboard, right? Then your mouse is going to be switched into the inside the guest. So now choose the language, right? The installation process language, and if in real time, this might be based on the customer location. You need to choose, like let's say if customer is from the United Kingdom, then you need to choose United Kingdom. If it is a United States, then you need to choose the United States. So in my case, um, I'm using as a POC mission, right? So I can go with the India. So then after, you need to go and use continue. Okay, just click on the continue. I'm choosing this India again. So sometimes if mouse is not working, just in case, in your case, you can also use your up arrow, down arrow keys from your laptop. So I'm using up arrow, down arrow right now, and use the tab, and you will be seeing here your cursor is moving on the next one, right? So just click that and continue. So as soon as you continue, this page will be shown in. So in real time, if it is a real time, you need to worry about a couple of things. You don't need to worry about the keyboard and language support and all, but you need to make sure your date and time is correct, right? So what you need to do here, just go back little bit. So I think it is selected keyboard. Yeah, go back here and select the down arrow, up arrow from your keyboard. If mouse is not working properly, then select the date and time, just enter that. So now here you just simply click on to the location. Let's say we are hosting this on the India, so you can use, I mean, you can just move your cursor here and select India map. So that will automatically choose the default time zone as Asia and Calcutta. This is the default time zone for India, like IST. So let's say if you are launching that server for Australian customer, so you can choose this, and from here you need to choose the city based on the customer city or customer's location. You can choose the city. If it is a Sydney, you need to choose the Sydney, like that. So in this case, it's our testing instance, or I mean testing mission. So I'm using Asia Calcutta as a Indian time zone. So after selecting this Indian time zone, um, you might be seeing this network time option. So this is something not required for us, but in real time you need to sync this with the time server. So it's time server in nothing but NTP, network time protocol. So that is something in real time we use, we sync our system with the specific NTP. So we'll talk about that in the Linux series, I mean Linux administration series. For now you can ignore. So in simple word, not NTP is nothing but you are syncing your time and time zone with the specific time server. Okay, and now select done. So this is our date and time is selected. Again, use your keyboard and use up arrow, down arrow. Okay, then select the software selections and click on it. So here in real time, if you go with the real time server provisioning, right, generally we may go with the just an integrated easy to manage server, or minimum I mean either we will go with the GUI or server options only. But this case it's a testing, so I'm using with server with the GUI. So I'm going to talk about what is the difference between CLI and GUI in the day 5th session. Okay, so in simple, GUI is you will get icon similar to our Windows where we play around there, but if it is a CLI you will not get any windows. Everything you need to run through the commands only. Okay, example, if you want to get some output, you need to use command, that's called a CLI. So in this case I'm choosing this one, and in the right side, right, additional software to be selected for environment. Let's say this server you are configuring in real time for FTP purpose, right? If it is FTP purpose, you can choose FTP. Let's say if you are using for file and file storage purpose, let's example iSCSI related, NFS purpose, or Samba related, like that, you can use that. So you might be confusing here what is the Samba, NFS and all, because these are all the advanced topics. So for now you can ignore, but we'll talk about on that in the administration classes. So while launching you can choose, or the same can be installed after the configuration of initial server setup, right? So just you need to focus, either you will go with the first one or the second one. Rest all is something for a play around, so it's not really using in real time as well. Okay, they just given an option. So after selecting server in GUI, select done. Okay, now what you need to do, again you need to use your keyboard. Okay, use keyboard up and up arrow, down arrows, and select the disk partitions. So disk partitions are very important as part of the server setup. So first you need to understand what is this disk partition, right? So I'm going to one of the doc I created, I mean notepad, where I can explain the what is the disk partition and all. So if you look at this, right, either you can go with the Red Hat Linux or Oracle Linux or CentOS or Imagine Linux or Ubuntu, Solaris, HP Unix, AX, take any OS. If you are dealing with the on-premises partitions, I mean on-premises environment, and you have a boot disk with 100 GB, you need to treat this, I mean the disk need to be partitionized into a different partitions. So now what is this partition? I'm going to explain. So in Windows, right, if you think about Windows, before I deep dive into the partition, yeah, we purchase a laptop, example Windows 11 or 10. So most of the time they will give a single partition, that is a C drive, right? C drive is similar to a partition in Unix terminology or Linux terminology. So C drive will have all the configuration files, software that relates to Windows programs and all. So you will get only one drive in our 500 GB disk or 1 TB disk. So you might be confusing here, if only one C drive there, how may I use my own drives? Like let's say you want to store your videos, or you want to store some songs, or so you want to store some important data. So where I am going to store? So for that reason, what you can do, in Windows there is a disk management concept. From there you can split your physical drive, I mean the drive what you have, like maybe a 500 GB or 1 TB. From the disk management you can split it, I mean you can split your boot disk, I mean the actual disk, into a different multiple pieces. So see, each piece is known as a partition when it comes to the Linux terminology or Unix terminology. So the advantage of this is, once you do that, I mean by splitting physical disk into multiple pieces, you can store different data in different locations. Example, C drive is only dedicated for operating system. D drive, example, you created D drive with 50 GB in our Windows. That D drive will be used for some videos, and next you created E drive, you created for maybe for audio, for some important file storing. Like that, how many drives you can create? C to G drives, right, in Windows. The same way in Linux also, you can divide your physical disk into multiple pieces. So as I mentioned, in Linux terminology, when you split your disk into a single pieces, that's known as a partition. You need to remember, when somebody asks what is partition, splitting a drive, I mean hard disk, into a multiple pieces, it's known as a partition. So in the partition we are storing our content. So in real time, right, if you are dealing with on premises, let's say if your server is having 100 GB disk, most of the time we may see a boot disk with the more than 100 GB, but I'm giving an example, right? So if you have the 100 GB disk in the on premises, then the disk need to be divided into this many partitions, this many drives. Let's say if you compare with the Windows, I would say it is a partition or it is a drive. So why we need all this? Because Linux always required a multi partitions. Means yes, you can put everything into one single root drive. I mean in this case we can put everything into root, but if it is on premises, that is not recommended. Means we always need to put every partition as an individual. Let's say in this case boot is required, So boot is one partition, that is first place that required for booting your system. So where in the boot you will have a kernel, initRD, and grub related stuff and bootable related stuff, everything that's stored on this slash boot. So this is required to boot your server. And then we required a root partition. So the root is the main uh, hierarchy of the Linux or Unix operating system. On top of on top of that we have a different branches, like sub branches like home, USR, OPT, var, temp, swap, lot of more other are there, but the one I'm highlighted here, those are important to set up your server. Okay. And home, so home is for it is actually for storing users data. Means, let's say the server is set up and people are accessing the server. So every person who are accessing the server, they need their own home face, right? So in that they can store the data like that. So home is required for storing the users data. Means user in the sense, like example myself, I am logging to the server, I can store my data into my location. That means there is a some space is allocated to the each user, that's called as a home. And next we have a user, USR, that's called a USR. So this is for system libraries and some user executable commands, like we have a two kind of commands. One is administrator commands, one is user executable commands. All these are something stored on the under the /usr location. So we require that as well as a partition. And OPT, so OPT is most of the time we known as optional partitioning. Means any third-party software we are installing on top of the OS. Let's say you build the OS, you build the server, on top of you want to install any third-party software. Like example, New Relic is a monitoring tool for disk uses or memory uses or CPU uses, like that. That you can use as a third-party software installation. Let's say if you install a 10 micro, it's like uh, monitoring your server in and out traffic. Let's say if any suspicious traffic is coming to your machine or not, something like that, it will monitor, right? Like that, if any Splunk also one of the log pulling software, where it will capture every logs and storing into the Splunk. So these are like kind of third-party software you can install under the OPT. That is a recommended way. You cannot install under home, or you cannot install US or something like that. But the recommendation is that always we need to use /OPT as a dedicated partition. And the next one is var. So var is very important as part of server build. That always needs to go with the separate partition. So var mainly use it for if suppose your system is somehow some issues are occurring. Let's say you schedule some cron is not running properly, so you need to know why it is happening. So that kind of logs information will be stored in the var. Or else another example like that, if suppose user is not able to connect, then there might be some error log is generated on the system. So that log also is stored in the var. So var especially designed to store all system related or user related issues that are occur, or warning or information whatever occurred in the, that will stored on the var location. It's similar to event manager or event service in the Microsoft, the way we look at the event logs and all, right? That's where the same in Unix terminology it is a var. And the temp is something we store for temporary use case purpose. We store some data, some application generating some kind of catchy logs or files that can be stored on the temp. So temp also should be in different partition. And finally a swap is very important. Let's say some applications, maybe Oracle or any other WebLogic, those require additional swap, because in general system memory, maybe your server might be having a 16 GB or 64 GB, whatever, but some application also relies on the swap area. Means it is just some kind of a logical virtual memory on top of the memory, right? So memory is mainly used in the Oracle or WebLogic, any software that being used by that. But in top of that, some of the time, if physical memory getting filled or getting 100% used, then system will rely on the virtual memory, that's called a swap. So swap is required to enhance the application or system performance. So that's the required for the swap. So like this, these are all the important partitions we need to make sure our disk is divided into these many partitions. Let's say in this case I took as 100 GB, so I divided like this. So it doesn't mean that you need to go with this way only, according to the disk size. Let's say if you have 100 GB, you can plan accordingly. Maybe you can use 500 GB, right? Let's say if it is a 500 GB, you can plan a different way. Like maybe you can put boot with a 10 GB or root with the 100 GB, like that, right? That's all up to you, but generally we need to our the plan should be in cleaner way, because after setting up the server, you don't need to run or don't need to rush into some XYZ issues. So we need to prepare before you plan your server setup. So this is one of the example. The only thing in real time, these are remain same, but the sizes are different. So this size is something the person who are architecting these customers design, I mean customers servers design, they will decide like what partition needs to go which size, like that. Your system the SMEs or architects team are designing that. Based on that, we need to provision that server. So when it comes to the cloud, right, let's say I'm taking this as an example for Amazon cloud. So let's say I have a boot disk with 60 GB. So in cloud, the cloud vendors, most of the cloud vendors, they don't give a option to customize the boot disk. That means you cannot create a multiple partition at the time of server launching. I'm saying at the time of server launching, you cannot customize it. But in on-premises or in the VirtualBox, we have an option to customize. So that I'm going to show you in a minute, right? So in the cloud, no, there is no option. You cannot customize your boot disk. So by default, as soon as you launch the system in the virtual system on the cloud, that will take by default partitioning format based on the image type. Let's say this example is for, I'm giving an example for Ubuntu OS. So when you launch Ubuntu, that will take a default partitioning and all. So in this case, let's say my disk is 60 GB. So on top of 60 GB, 1 GB is allocated for boot, and another remaining space is allocating to the root. That's called a slash in the sense it's a root. So this is how the partitioning is done in the on-premises or in the cloud environment. So let's say so what is the drawback of this partitioning? This is also known as a standard partition. Okay, this partition is called a standard partition, means you cannot extend this partition. What do you mean by that? Let's say your root is having a, you set up your server with the 20 GB, but later after 6 months or 7 months the root is 100% full. Then only one way that you need to check which are not used for a long time, those files you need to delete to reclaim the disk space. Let's say everything is important and there is no way to delete any older data, then you will be in trouble, because if you go with the standard partition, we will face this kind of issues. Means we cannot extend the partitions dynamically. Again, we need to rebuild the server and we need to restore the content whatever we required. So that's a headache for us. So for that reason, what people are doing, instead of doing this as a standard partition, they go with the LVM concept, logical volume manager. Okay, so the only difference between a standard and a logical volume manager partitions is if we configure or if we set up our server with the standard partition we cannot extend, but if you configure our system with the LVM, then you can extend whenever you want. Means you can extend without downgrading or stopping your server dynamically. That means online. So that's the advantage of LVM. So we have a dedicated session for LVM. I will show you how you can do this in the Linux administration class. So for the time being, you can ignore this LVM in this case. And when it comes to the cloud also, by default every partitions are standard. Okay, I mean standard partitioning only. But the beauty of the cloud is that, let's say if it is root is full, then there is an option you can extend the disk dynamically. And sometimes if it is a reboot is required for the root partitions. So that is the beauty of the cloud, right? But whereas in on-premises, yes, you cannot extend or increase the standard partition, like until if it is something on under the LVM. So this is the major differences between the on-premises partitioning and cloud partitioning. If you have any questions, you can comment on the video, so that I will try to give some more clarity, or if required I may create one more video on the disk partitioning in detail. Okay, so now I'm going back to the partitioning table of the installation of our machine. So now look at the partition table. So I'm going to the installation destination. So at this moment it is selected as auto partition, so I can go here. Okay, and here you need to come here from auto partition or custom partition. So if you don't want to customize your partitions and all, you just simply click on the automatic, that will automatically create the partitions. But if you want to see or if you want to customize your partitions and all, you need to click on to the custom partitions. Okay, so then choose the custom partition and select the done. And here there is a drop down, right? So in this drop down you can choose either LVM or partition. We already talked about LVM. So thin partitioning something not using in real time as well. So either you go with the standard partition or LVM partition based on the your requirement. But since it is a practice purpose, right, I would just go with the standard partition. So how the partition is look like, you can see here. So I'm selecting standard partition, and top of that, if you want to create your own partition style, then simply you can come here, come down, and use the plus symbol to create your let's say example. If you want to customize, you can do it. Example, I'm clicking plus symbol. Okay, somehow mouse is not accepting. I'm selecting my keyboard using tab, and now you will be getting, and you will be asking you to what you need to do here. So maybe you can choose board partition, home partition, swap partition, whatever. So I don't want to go with this, because since I can create another way that to partition directly instead of I'm doing myself, right? So what I can do, simply I will come here and I will use create them automatically. So when you choose this, it will create the default partition what are all the required. Let's say, as I mentioned in the previously, /boot is required, swap is required, and root is required. These three are created. These are all the default partition that system is asking for to create your launch or server or a system. But in real time, right, you need to add few more partitions, the one we discussed in the on our table, like in the notepad we discussed USR, var and all, right, that you can do it. So now if you want to add few more things, that can be done, but at this moment it's okay, since it is a practicing, you don't need to worry. I will show you one more time when we talking about the installation of file system management and all, there I can explain this again. Okay, so for now, choose see the differences here: boot disk, root disk, and swap disk. So you might be seeing here some more information like SDA1 and SDA2, SDA3. So this SDA mean it is that SDA means it's your hard disk. Okay, So every hard disk is having its unique name, like let's say first hard disk is having as DA, and second disk as DB, and third disk is having a SDC, like that. So how the naming conversion are happened, and this will be I'm discussing on the disk management under the Linux administration course. For now, since it is an entry, so it's not required. Save it, accept the changes. So somehow my time is not saved, so again I'm going back. I'm saying that Calcutta Asia. Yes, now we are all set with these options, right? So maybe we need to go here some more options, like kdump is required. Kdump is nothing but if say your system is somehow all of suddenly crash, so then you need to know why it is crashed. So while you open any case with the let's say if you are using Oracle and you have a support, then you can send this log to them. They will give you the detailed analysis why server is hang, or I mean why server is kernel panic is happened, why it is suddenly stopped or crash or something like that. That they will analyze and give you a feedback on that. So that's the reason kdump is required for real-time use case. And network and host name is required, since every machine is it's having its own name, right? So if you want to interact with this particular PC, then you need to use on the, I mean you need to enable the internet card, then that will assign one IP address within your systems, friends. In real time also this need to be enabled. And when you come down bit here, here you will be seeing the host name. So the host name is defaultly it is set to local host, something like that. So you can change this to by using tab space or mouse 3, since OL3 is something we use choose it, right? So then apply it, and go back and save it, right? And done. So now its network host name is already set, and this security something is not required. So we are just going with the root password. So root password is a one-time password. You can set whatever password you want to put. So I'm putting some password, maybe 8 or 6 characters like that, or you can put more than 8 characters like that. So here I'm using some strong password, so you can use the same way what you want to put for the root. This is for root password. Okay, then done. Click on the done, and user creation. So this is for your user, so you can give your name, and you are granting administrator privileges similar to root. So I'm giving the some XYZ password here, and done. So here you might be wondering why I created 2 users, right? I mean why I given 2 things. One is root password, one is for user creation. So root is the one that we in general we are not using for daily basis activities, so we are not connecting as a root. So we only connecting if some kind of troubleshooting related that need to be done. Let's say you are not able to connect with your user, then you need to use root as root to connect. But this section is something you are creating your user in that server, and you are logging to the system with your password, and you are granting administrator privileges. It means whatever privileges root user is having, same privileges you will be getting. Like you can do create, I mean you can create destroy, whatever, you can do anything similar to the root. So as soon as you done this, right? So in real time, one point I forgot here, in real time you are not using this kind of user creation mechanism. They integrate the user creation with the Active Directory. So why Active Directory means, let's say now you have one machine, but customer might be having a 50 100 whatever. So in this all 100 machine you cannot go and create one by one, right? So if you integrate your Linux machine with the Active Directory, then users can be simply managed from the Active Directory. So the same Active Directory user can be used on all the on the Linux servers. So that's kind of advanced, very advanced topic. So usually in real time we do use that kind of mechanism only. Okay, so now we are all set with all the initial settings and all. Now it's time to start the installation. So use the tab symbol and use the begin option. Okay, so I think some pop-up is come up. I'm closing this. It's not, it's a help page actually. So come down and select begin install. Okay, if something is not accepting, you can use the up and down arrows and start it. So this will start creating your file systems and trying to install the packages like that. So it will take almost 30 minutes to 40 minutes. So what I can do, I can resume for now and I will show you once the packages installation is done. Okay, so I think installation is now done, right? So what you need to do, simply you can see I think I waited almost 20 minutes in my case. So what you can do, simply come here and select the reboot, right? So use your tab reboot. Then this particular gust is going to be rebooted. Then you will be getting a login prompt in a minute. Okay. So this is how we installing in general in our VirtualBox. The same thing applicable to the real time as well. Again, it is only required for on-premises setup, whereas in Amazon or any other cloud support, then you don't need to worry about this partitioning and all. Okay, so now system is rebooted and it's trying to start up the system. So it's doing again post checks again. I mean a post means a power on self test. Then it will run it. Once that everything is good, then it will give you an authentication page. Means you need to enter your username and password to log into the VirtualBox system. Okay, oh, I think it's asking for the licensing. So yes, we need to accept this as well. I forgot to mention, as I mentioned, this is the freeware, but we need to copy with this Oracle Linux licensing. You just simply need to tell that okay, I'm agree with this installation, and we are not going to use it for any um, anything that for commercial use case, since we are not doing a commercial use case, right? It's simply for our own practice or something like that. But anyway, in real time also we need to choose accept the license. That's the expected one. Select done and finish the configuration. Yeah, so now this is how once installation is everything is done, you will be getting a login prompt. So click your user. If you remember, we created a user called Venkat at the time of server launching, right? You can give that. Okay, so now your system is ready for your practice, so you can do whatever commands you want to practice, you can do it. And again, this is something we install with the GUI, means you will get some icons like this, right? So you will get Firefox icon, settings icons, terminal icons, and some more other apps and all. So if you want to run some commands, you need to open this terminal and look at the name. So we have given name as a OEL, right? This can be ignore. I mean, it's something like a welcome screen. So just put this next, and skip. Start using the server. That's it. So now close this window. It's not required. Yep. Now we are all set with this, and you can check with the this command OS release. You will get the OS version details and all. And also you can check uname hyphen p for processor type, hyphen m for system type, I mean machine type. And also you can look for proc CPU info, how many processors we have in this machine. So right now we have only one single processor, that's the reason it's showing at 0. Okay, so this is how we set up our first gust OS. The same applicable for Ubuntu also, but in Ubuntu the customization of table is little different, but we always go with the standard partitioning only. We don't need to customize and all, we can go with the standard partitioning only. So that's it for today. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, you can share with your friends and subscribe to my channel and comment if you need any further information. So you can follow me on Facebook as well, Instagram, and my Telegram channels as well. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you all.